Sports Amigos, episode 9. Mike, we have now gone around the country the last 8 episodes, making our way back to Abilene.
This is so much fun. I've had so much fun talking to people that that I've had a chance to finally meet, and talking to a couple people I know that you've had a chance to meet, and then talking with those people that we've worked with that we both sort of know. Like there's something special about all three of those. Us talking to people we don't, vice versa with each other, and then having a chance to come back to sort of that that home where it all started for us. I'm really excited about you, and we're 9 episodes into this thing, man. I don't know about you.
Oh God, it's been so much fun, and this tonight's guest, this episode's guest, someone that we had the pleasure to meet in Abilene during our time in K, Texas, and it's rare that, especially like when you consider it was 9 years ago for me when I first got to Abilene, that you can keep in touch with someone, from that time of your life. And this
Exactly.
guy's never left our lives when it comes to keeping in touch.
I know we just can't seem to shake this guy, but you know what? He's like that nasty spot on the pan or something that just won't go away. But we love him regardless, and I'm really glad we get to welcome in this fella. He is a connoisseur of craft beer, a lover of barbecue and pizza all across the country. I've had the pleasure of watching him propose to his soon-to-be wife in my living room just about 6 months ago as well. He's taken a pretty interesting career path that I think a lot of people could resonate with, whether you're in the industry or you're not. But very, very happy and pleased to welcome Brandon McAuliffe to Sports Amigos, joining the fraternity/sorority. Give him a golf clap. Golf clap.
So first newspaper, I would say, writer we've had on, right? Officially.
Yeah, I think so. And
well, okay, John Marshall is not a newspaper writer anymore, but he was.
Hold on. Y'all gave John love before you gave me love? I'm hurt.
We were trying to diversify what states we were going to. He's in Tennessee. We had already talked to someone from Texas at that point.
We had talked to a couple people from Texas.
Well, at least with Texas ties. With Texas ties. But come on, man. This is season 1. You knew we weren't going to end season 1 without going to Abilene and checking in on you.
But to sort of, hey, I want to clarify, though, that he is the first master of ceremonies within the sporting event world that we've had on Sports Amigos. So we'll go with that. He's the first MC that we've had on the show.
For sure.
Nice recovery.
And I think we are burying the lead by not mentioning Brandon is getting married this upcoming summer, and we were both graced with the honor of being asked to be groomsmen. So this is I'm stoked about that, and I'm so happy, for that to be approaching in your life, man. That's a big deal.
It really is, and to be completely honest, it wouldn't be happening if not for the two of you, and if not for
know about me, Mike, for sure. I mean, how would I come into the equation?
Because you were around too. I wouldn't have hung out with Mike if it wasn't for you.
we wouldn't have hung out with Mike as much if he didn't have DVR where we were all going to watch all of our favorite shows.
If I didn't make lunch and breakfast for your cheap asses in the mornings on Saturdays too.
That was more for him. I was usually working.
That's true. Okay.
I rarely got to go to those. If I got to go to those, that was a pretty rare thing. But no, you always spoiled us. You always made us good food, and
he did.
He was a great host.
And when Whitney and I were out in Arizona, over the past summer, that he really kicked it up a notch. He really did.
Nice. Good to know.
I felt sort of bad though, because we were so excited and we still had a great time, but like the sports centric part of what I wanted to do and show Brandon just couldn't happen because places like McHale Center, home of my Wildcats, it was all shut down. And normally you can go walk through like the, see all the names and history of Arizona basketball, go see the actual court. Normally you can go and get a better peek at some of those places that I was excited to show you, but we still had a really good time.
And let's not forget the fact that since you're not media anymore, you did chicken out on that trip too.
What do you mean?
But
Going to the football stadium, the media gate was open and you would not walk through it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have those credentials on me anymore. So
it's been a long time since you were affiliated with any Tucson media.
It's been almost 3 full years.
I'm saying Tucson media.
Oh, yeah.
Even more so for Tucson media.
Even more so for Tucson, but it's still kind of crazy. I still have buddies who I used to work with in the biz who are still in town and still doing their thing. So I do want to digress, though, and sort of get back to Brandon, your journey. It's been really unique, and correct me if I'm wrong, your background, like your education and training, that's not in journalism, is it?
Not everything in journalism that I've done has been on the job training, no schooling.
Which is the best way to learn anyway.
It is.
Because back in 2001, I'm going to age myself a little bit. I was a freshman at Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls. Back then they were the Indians, now they're the Mustangs because everybody's got to go with that route to keep the NCAA happy. I was a freshman when 9/11 happened, and I was an student athletic trainer. I was in a first aid and safety class when everything unfolded, and it was nothing but student athletic trainers and football players in the class being led by the assistant athletic trainer at the time. And English and A&P, anatomy and physiology, were my worst subjects in college, which is amusing when you think about it because I never liked English in high school either. And now here I am with one of my two careers doing nothing but writing stuff. And I hated writing papers.
I know journalism and print are two, I mean, that's so different from writing the essays and that in school. Yeah. And you have to figure it out somewhere. You have to break into the world somewhere. So I want to rewind and find that time that you were able to break in.
I'm not ashamed to admit I did flunk out of Midwestern with a sub 2.0 GPA. I didn't know they made them lower than that, but I found a way. So moved back to Abilene, which is home, and
couple hours away. You weren't super far.
Yeah, 2 hours away, and was working at Albertsons at the time. And I believe he was the assistant sports editor of the Abilene-Reporter News. Mark Wilson knew that I love sports, and he saw me and he was like, "Man, we need help taking phone calls of box scores of Friday night football games." He goes, "Would you be willing to make a little bit of cash on Friday nights?" Sure. By the middle of the season, I had progressed to writing a couple of paragraph toppers on game stories for the next morning's print. And it kind of whet my appetite. And, I was in the office for a couple of years, paying dues, things of that nature. And then I started going out and covering big country games. And, when you think about it, the big country drive from the east to the west is 6 hours. Mm-hmm. And then it's probably about 3 hours of a drive going north to south. So lots of ground to cover. And I've gotten plenty of windshield time over the years. But I also love it because, I've never done it for the money. I love driving to games because it's just a chance to clear your mind and to enjoy the scenery. And anybody that's ever been to West Texas knows God paints some pretty scenery out here.
Oh, I know.
And I will admit it's nothing compared to what Mike has in Arizona, because that entire week Whitney and I spent out there, my jaw, I don't think ever came up off the floor just looking at everything. But I do it because I enjoy telling the kids stories. And, I had several coaches come up to me at games this year that I was covering, telling me, "Man, we follow you on Twitter because you do a good job of promoting the kids that we don't otherwise see." And these are JUCO coaches that practically see everybody because they're going to take anybody that wants to come play for them. And And so when you have a coach come up to you and seek you out and say, man, thank you for what you do to help me out, and thank you for what you do to get these kids' names out there.
So let's take it back to you're volunteering, you're taking calls, you're writing a little bit here and there. What year is that?
That was the fall of 2001. So
okay, so this is right after it didn't work out at
sure.
Midwestern. So you're going.
Oh, that was the fall of 2002. I'm sorry.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, right after.
You're close to 2 decades deep into getting your first taste of it to now. So Abilene-Reporter News since 2002 has been somewhere you've contributed since 2002, right? Off and on?
Up until 2018. In 2018, I made the move to bigcountrypreps.com. And, that's one of the things that I've loved it. It was started by Daniel Youngblood and Evan Wren, who were at the Reporter News. And the freedom that we have with that by not being constrained to print media is just amazing. And it's allowed us the opportunity to do just a lot of different stories. And it's allowed me to broaden my horizons and become a photographer too. And so, it makes for late nights when you look at the fact that I work 8 to 5 for Blue Cross and then get off from there and go cover something. And then by the time I get home, get stories written, get photos edited, it's 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm right back up doing it again the next day.
You make the move from traditional newspaper to the .com realm. And I know the saying now is that newspaper is dying, but they're trying to keep going with the online side of things. So that's been a growing source of income and work for a lot of people who are still in the business, who are coming into the business. So I guess I'm curious, where do you see the value in having, your job be solely online versus in print and online?
That's a good point that you make. A lot of it is the newspaper's a dying breed, and you're starting to see big conglomerates like Gannett take over in it. Getting away from that, it's scary. I will admit it's because when you're making the move to a .com, and this is something that Daniel and I have talked about at length numerous occasions, is you don't know, is the demand going to be there? Are people going to want to pay $5 a month for a subscription to your site? Which, that doesn't sound like much, but if you think about it, there's, especially in today's climate with the virus going on and all of that, people are having to cut corners. Well, not necessarily cut corners, but
cut back.
Really cut back.
Cut costs, yeah.
And so that's kind of been one of the big things. And we've been fortunate that the growth has remained. And for me, that's kind of been where I was like, you know what, getting in on the ground floor, as excited as I was and as proud of myself because of the fact that Daniel and Evan had the faith in me that they wanted me to join them at the ground floor. That's been the most rewarding thing, is seeing people not only love the work that I'm doing, but they love the work that the three of us are doing and in the quality of product. And that's just been the greatest thing. Is it's scary making that jump because you don't know, hey, if I make this move, is it going to kill my career? Is it going to kill what I love doing? Or is it going to allow things to take off? And I have actually just seen everything explode. And, it's allowed me to become a better person, become a better man. And it allows me to provide for Whitney in more ways too. And like that's one thing that I pride myself on is she doesn't have to stress about stuff. She doesn't have to stress, hey, how are we going to make things meet? How are you going to take care of me? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? And just how I was raised, like that's, I always saw my dad providing for my family. And I know you guys have seen that too. And being able to now from a distance, like see you take care of Carrie and the girls and Brandon, see you take care of Becca and Julian, and knowing that I'm on that path of people that I idolize and really look up to, that because of what I've done for a decade at Blue Cross and for going nearly 2 decades with journalism, there's no words for it. There really aren't.
You know, you bring up something you're making me think about. There's a lot of young guys that are either in college right now or that will come right out of college that will get interested in pursuing sports writing in some capacity, whether it be online, like a big country preps, or for the newspaper, the local newspaper in town. What advice would you give to someone that is just a big sports fan and feels like they need to decide between doing a day job and writing? Because you've done both for a long time, and it seemed to satisfy, like doing it part-time has satisfied, you know, the bug you have of like being a part of the games, you know, and covering games. And you've also had a career outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of advice would you give to someone that feels like they need to choose, and whether that are trying to figure out if they should choose or try both?
You know, I go back, and I think it was the very first episode that you guys did where you talked about how when you started at K-Texas, you were having to rely on food stamps
Right.
during that time. And the biggest advice I can give people is don't get in it for the money, because it's not the money that you do it for.
There is none.
Well, I mean, and especially when you're entry level or even a step below entry level.
Yeah, and so for me, the best advice I can give is you have to do it because you love sharing stories. So I was going to Vernon to cover Wiley's season opener. Wiley's one of our big 3 schools here in Abilene, and it's late August, so it's hotter than snot. That's a politically correct way of saying what Texas is like in the summer.
West Texas too, yeah. It's a different kind of heat, yeah. It's hot. Dry.
And so I got everything sent that night after the game. I'm on my way home. I'm driving through Haskell. It's about an hour outside of Abilene. So as I'm driving back, I'm going through Haskell. My editor calls me and says, I don't have any staff writers I can send to this house fire because it would put them all in overtime. And can you do it? Can you go to it when you get back into town? Well, now it's 1 o'clock when I'm getting back into town.
In the morning.
1 a.m. Yes. After
let's make that clear. This is after covering a game.
12. So that's 13.
Yeah.
That's 17 hours straight that I've worked at this point.
Between your 2 jobs and the writing job, you just spent 6 hours of your night going back and forth.
Yes.
Going there, covering the game, then driving 2 hours. Now it's 1 a.m. and you're getting called to do this.
Yeah. And I roll up and the fire department tries to kick me out, and the investigator is actually happened to be the husband of one of my bosses at Blue Cross. And he told me, he goes, is they're trying to kick me out? He goes, no, he's with me.
Nice.
and he actually gave me information that when K-Texas was out there, he wouldn't give them. Told me it was an arson. And at this point, I hadn't gone to the bathroom in God knows how long, and I got to go to the bathroom. That night, I literally wrote the story while sitting on the john.
Oh, gosh. For those of you watching that might not be in the world of journalism, I can't say that particular instance is common, but I think all of us have had some kind of story.
I mean, dude, in the world we live in now, people are on their phone a lot, and maybe even their iPads and computers while they're doing the business.
Oh, easily. But like,
yeah,
everybody has that story that has that moment where they're like, "What are you doing?"
That's ultimate multitasking.
Oh, it is. It totally is. But I mean, that is the perfect example of like trying to get the job done and like having to multitask.
You've built a great reputation, and part of the reason you were called is because that person knew they could count on you.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, that's the best thing, is knowing that I've got that reliable reputation that people know, hey, Brandon's going to take care of things if we need him to. If we're in a pinch, he's going to do what he can to help us out. And Brandon, you're still in media. Mike is a former media guy. Like, both of you know that in the media, that's what you strive for. You strive for being that one that people know that your stuff is going to be accurate, it's going to be right, and it's going to be on point and exactly what they need.
Yeah, I think you're exactly spot on, and it's hard to do that, and especially now in this social media world, it's really hard to build up that credibility, but it's really hard to watch that credibility just shatter into a million pieces.
You do something that you misquote a coach, or you run a story without verifying everything, and
right.
And I'll admit, I've gotten burned by trusting a source before.
Right.
Where Abilene High had a head football coach opening, and a source of mine that had a son on the team told me person X was getting the job, and that the team had just been told that in a meeting. Well, and I use this as a learning experience, but instead of trying to verify that with the second person, I was of the mindset of, I got to be the first one to get the news out.
And that's the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's so hard, and this is part of the human condition in a social media world, that we want to be first, but we don't, check ourselves and try to be right before we're first.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to mention is, when Mike Fullen got Abilene High's head coaching job, I guess this year would have been his second year at the helm. Like, I spent a lot of time working behind the scenes as the process was unfolding, vetting sources and asking sources from all over the state. And I was actually able to get a list of the 8 to 10 people that they were interviewing because of people I know. And, the past 3 years I've gotten to write for Dave Campbell's Texas Football, which, Mike was lucky enough to get an autographed copy this summer.
and to be fair, for those who don't know or understand Texas high school football, Dave Campbell's summer magazine, it is the Bible in the state of Texas.
Those are the exact words it was explained to me when I first came to Abilene. Get that magazine.
Yep.
That's the Bible of Texas football.
Yeah, and so, one of my good friends that got me on board with Dave Campbell's, like, he and I had been bouncing what we were hearing off of each other. And he was actually the one that confirmed that Mike Fullen was the one getting the job before I was able to, because it was down to Fullen and one other finalist. And, my buddy told me, he goes, dude, you have busted your butt to do a lot of the legwork on this. He goes, I want you to break this. He goes, I have been told by the other finalists they did not get the job. And so 7:45 that on a Monday, I remember it, 7:45 Monday morning, I tweeted it out that Mike Fullen got the job and that he was being announced at an 11 o'clock news conference that morning. Well, The assistant athletic director for the school district got wind of that at about 9 o'clock, got wind of my tweet and called me uber ticked off.
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, it's not been finalized yet, and this, that, and the other. And how do you know? And Coach, I'm not revealing sources to you. I'm sorry. I was like, but I have independently confirmed with 3 different people this is the case. Well, you better hope it doesn't fall through. And so at this point, I've got the fear of God in me going, oh God, did I do this again? Am I about to get burned a second time? And thankfully at 11 o'clock that morning, Mike Fullen was introduced as the head coach. But you talk about sweating bullets for 2 hours.
Yeah, it is tough. I was in a situation when UNM's football coach got hired, and I had these scoops of all scoops. Like, I had sources that were like so solid, the most solid source I've ever had for the biggest story up to that point in my career, and everyone at the school was denying it. I knew exactly. I was telling them, like, okay, really? Because I was told you're going to email me at 2 p.m. This is like at 10 a.m. You're going to email me at 2 p.m. telling everyone that there's going to be a ceremony at halftime presenting your coach. I'm going to call you at 2:01 if I'm right. And sure enough, they did. But like, it's a scary thing until you get the news yourself, even, like you see that coach in that jacket or wearing that hat. It is scary. It's scary. Sometimes it's a little too scary having such good sources. you know?
And
it doesn't happen for me very often, I have to say. Like, I'm not a big, like, getting in, trying to like break stories. Like, I'm good, like, being the second or third guy and telling a story my own way. Like, it's a whole nother thing being competitive that way, trying to get that good of sources, and try to be the one that's breaking things.
So this one goes back to like sweating bullets for 2 hours, kind of like that. There's one side to that, but then there's the victorious side of it where you just like, you bring the hammer down. You're really like, you're proud. It's one of those achieving moments for you. And mine was, I had been home for like 2 hours. It's like 1:30 in the morning. And I'm like I'm almost through a glass of wine. I'm like, oh, okay. End of the day, I think it was like going into my weekend or something or close. And the United States has never hosted the World Outdoor Track and Field Championships. And I was up in Eugene, Oregon, which the nickname is Track Town USA. They take it very seriously there. Who knows how many gold medal Olympians have come out of there, world champions, etc. And I just saw this one tweet from just this random person that said Eugene, Oregon, not like LA, not New York or Atlanta. Eugene was awarded the 2021 World Outdoor Championships. And it was one of those like nearly spit your drink out moments. And so I'm like, okay, I'm a glass of wine in, I'm putting my drink down, and I start looking into it. And sure enough, the USA Track and Field Governing Board had posted like this little bitty blurb on their website. And it was done like this was awarded so unceremoniously. It's 1:30 in the morning when all this goes down, and you've confirmed it through their governing board's website, that I'm like, oh, F. So I'm like, I had my laptop out because I had brought the work laptop home. So I'm frantically trying to write a web story. I'm calling up our morning producer and saying, you need to get so-and-so on the phone. This is what's happening. And in Eugene, this is your top story of the day. And in other major track communities across the country, it's your top story of the day kind of thing. And to be able to beat the best beat writers in track and field, and I've met and covered events with them, to be able to say, I beat them to the punch with this story, I broke this story, like that is one of those crowning achievements, one of those things that you could like go buy a trophy for yourself and hang it up with your credentials back here, and it's like one of those moments for you. So you go from like the moment of oh no, oh no, oh no, to this blows up into the biggest story in town, and you've got the VP of U.S. track and field on the phone in China talking to your team, talking to your morning crew, like
Nice.
it blows up. That's a really good feeling. That's one of those really cool adrenaline feelings.
See, that's the ultimate high of breaking stories. Brandon, have you had any situations where you heard of someone passing away and you were kind of like ahead of the game on that? Because it's a bittersweet thing to be the first one to announce like such a significant, member of a community passing away. Have you been in any of those situations and like been hesitant to report it? Because if you're wrong, then it's like, career ending.
Yeah. Thankfully, Abilene's a small enough market to where stuff like that doesn't happen on a day-to-day basis. It's not like Dallas. It's not like Miami. It's not like Eugene. It's not like any major city that you can think of. State College, Pennsylvania. Like, we are very fortunate that, in a city of 120,000 people, big stuff like that doesn't happen here. For lack of a better word, it just doesn't happen here. And it's, I hate saying that because I always hate when people say, "Oh, that could never happen here. That would never happen here." And it's just something that 120 years of Abilene's history, it hasn't happened here. And so I can't say that I've had a major, even statewide story where I'm sitting there going, "Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. I hope this is right. I hope this is right."
It's a scary thing to like put it out there. And what if you're wrong? And I think all three of us have taken that really, really seriously throughout our careers.
Well,
and I'm proud of that.
I want to take it a step further because of how low you can get. Like we've talked about the highs. I've had that high moment, but the low moment that I've ever felt, like probably the worst I've ever felt doing this job, was this was when I was still in college, and I was working the assignment desk at one of the stations here in town. And I saw something and I looked into it, and it turns out a girl that I grew up with that graduated with me from high school. Like, we were friends in elementary school. We played basketball together on the court at lunch. She and her brother and her family were really big into outdoor living. Like, they were really big camping, mountain climbing, that whole thing. They passed away in a mountain climbing fall down in Peru. And it was one of those really hard, very gut-wrenching things of being human, but being a journalist. And journalists have to do things, and the ethics of what you're sort of called to do. And I don't feel right saying called to do, but the ethics of what you're sort of supposed to do is put yourself aside to tell the story. And I still remember I brought the information, we ran with it, and it shocked a lot of people that I knew. And the weirdest part for me was the news director at the station at the time coming to me after the early shows and saying, "Mike, great job on that story." And she had a box of like toys, trinkets, whatever, that if you were rewarded or if you were like commended for an exceptional job, you go and pick from. And she said, you get to go and pick from the prize box at the end of the day. And I remember I did not go and pick from the prize box because I was so broken up and unsure of what I was doing. And it's every journalist goes through those kinds of moments, however it manifests itself. But it's a very challenging moment for anybody who is tasked with, removing themselves from a truly horrendous and heartbreaking situation.
We've really been tugging on the heartstrings for a good while, Mike, and I think it's time to lighten up the mood.
Yeah, sentimental is fun.
Yeah, we've yeah. Let's change it up. Let's get to the lightning round.
The lightning round.
Brandon, I know
Mike?
you've listened to our shows a couple times, so I have a feeling you're familiar with what the lightning round is. Am I correct?
It's been about a month since I listened to a show, so you might have to refresh me.
It is 10 questions, 10 answers. Doesn't have to be super fast, but we don't want to go on super long diatribes for every one of these. But it is a ton of fun to dig into these a little bit. But 10 questions, 10 answers, and we will kick it off. I know you're a bit of a foodie. I know you like to frequent certain barbecue establishments across the state of Texas. So give me your best 2 or 3 barbecue spots in the state of Texas.
All right. So first off, Heim Barbecue Fort Worth, hands down, probably the best I've ever had. Their bacon burnt ends, chef's kiss.
Just had to add that last part in there.
Number 2 would be Salt Lick Barbecue down in the Austin area. And then I have a 3A and 3B. 3A hits Mike right in the heartstrings, Harold's Barbecue. God rest his soul.
We're going to move on. So keeping with this Texas theme, what is your favorite Texas high school football moment? This could be a game. This could be anything, but a moment.
Easy. 2018, Duncanville North Shore, Hail Mary to win the game in the state championship.
Cool.
Ooh, I remember watching the highlights of that.
Were you there for Jim Ned this year?
I was not. I had to work that day, but I sure did have it on DVR to watch.
Did you see that play, Mike? The 2-point. It was 2-point conversion, right, to win it.
I did, and they made it look so good.
Man,
well,
good for them. God, they were so
and credit
bad.
to Jim Ned too. Like it
so
showed
bad,
the character.
Dude. When Mike and I were there, we missed their one of their runs that they've been on a couple of great runs throughout the years, and we were not around for one of them. They were struggling when we were there.
Their best season while we were there, I looked this up. Their best season while we were there was like a 4-6 regular season.
I was going to say
every other
tops.
Year. Yeah, every other year during like a 4 or 5 year run was like 1-9, 2-8. It was so bad for them.
Good for them. Happy
the alma mater of Colt McCoy.
Right.
Yeah.
Colt McCoys.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
And Colt McCoy gets that. He's still in the league treatment now.
He does. He's been going at it long enough. He's in that category now. He's been on so many teams too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Best Texas high school football player you've ever covered.
Ooh.
I like that one because it could be an opposing team too. It doesn't have to be the team you're covering. Yeah.
The best player.
I've got one for California, but you go in Texas because yours is definitely in Texas.
Man.
Mike, do you have one for Arizona? You got
not for Arizona, but I have one for Oregon, and that is Justin Herbert. I covered Justin Herbert his junior and senior year at Sheldon High School.
That's not fair.
What do you mean? You've lived in Texas your entire life. You've seen more NFL players than we have.
I know.
At the high school.
Yeah, but he's got Justin Herbert.
Dude, come on.
Come on. Your list alone's got to be pretty good.
I know that's the problem though. Is it's hard to choose just one. I mean, especially when you look at what's come through Abilene. I mean, there's a Mud Brooks who used to be Abilene High's quarterback,
right? That
turned into a defensive back for the UT Longhorns. He was actually the first recruit that Mac Brown ever signed at UT.
That's a cool name.
Wow.
Bet you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Went on to play for the Saints, the Bills. So he's definitely there. I mean,
that's a good name drop, but you've got some big ones you've had to have seen.
Yeah, you've got Colt McCoy, who's
right. Yeah,
like we just talked about.
I only assumed you had seen him. Yeah. James Washington, you had to have seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think pound for pound at the 2A level, James Washington is probably the best I've ever seen at that level.
They were 1A when he was there.
That was before they changed up the 1A naming.
Cisco was 2A the year that James won his senior year, and Stanford was 1A. They were back. They'd gone to the state championship 3 years in a row.
But then Sneezy Beltran. But I would think, hands down, the best player I have personally seen, and I know I didn't cover him at the time. I was still in high school, but Cedric Benson, when he was running back from Midland Lee.
I remember getting to Abilene and hearing about how great he was in Midland. Yeah. Midland Lee? Who's Midland Lee?
Midland Lee.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one to be able to drop. Okay, so I'll give you this as the favorite. What's your favorite Texas high school football stadium you've been to?
Ooh.
And you have to have been to the stadium.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's actually a project of mine for this offseason, this summer.
Oh, good.
In the past 20 years, I've been to so many stadiums, I can't list them all. And I don't remember where all I've been. But I want to go back to the start of the Big Country Preps era. So since 2018, it was actually this year. And when I made the walk, I started crying.
Alan?
Globe Life Field, or Globe Life Park in Arlington.
Wait a minute. I thought we were talking in high school.
High school. That's true. Like
stadiums.
Yes,
because if you're going to count Globe Life, then AT&T Stadium would count.
No, Globe Life is a high school stadium now.
I get that. But let's go like an actual school's
that's not
stadium.
the main. It's not the main use for it, though.
No. I've never been to Allen High School. I hadn't been to McKinney with their $70 million stadium because we do everything bigger in Texas.
Oh my goodness.
Man, that's a legit good question. And
because after you go through all those massive ones, they're all pretty much at the same level. It's just a matter of which one you've seen the coolest stuff happen at.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, I don't do anything outside the Big Country.
Right. Well, yeah. So Shotwell Stadium for you has got to have a lot of sentimental value.
But
you have places like the Mustang Bowl, like Buckaroo Stadium. Then I know you went there on the right, but Brown was a great one. You go out to El Paso, Brandon. I know you went to that. I don't remember the name.
I did go by Jones Stadium in El Paso on the way home from your house this summer. Haven't covered a game there, so as much as I loved it, I'm not going to say it. But you make a good point with the Mustang Bowl. But to me, I just love being out at the little small schools.
I know,
and just being a part of the crowd and the community. And I can't say
it's not the stadium. It's not the stadium as much as the atmosphere.
Yeah, and I can't say the bottom of my list is Kahoma Stadium. After I got taken out there this year on the sideline shooting photos, that puts it at the bottom of the list because there's video evidence of that.
Trying to remember, I think it was at Merkel that I got taken out. Brandon, where have you been taken out?
McMurray. That's where the camera broke.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I got hit.
Oh my gosh!
Broke immediately.
So, I will say this: it's with you guys being in TV, you shoot with both eyes open.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I got taken out in Kahoma this year,
literally, I got hit though. Like the ref wasn't even looking, hit the camera against my head, so it was literally a blind spot. Like I couldn't see.
Oh.
So I'm shooting on a sideline and in Kahoma where this is my eye closest to the field. So I'm shooting out of this camera or shooting through this eye. Yeah. And the running back's coming towards me and I see it perfectly. And I'm like, man, I got a great photo. I'm shooting, never see the defensive back coming from the blind side. And he hits the running back. Running back takes me out. I go flying. My clipboard and everything that I was keeping stats on goes flying. And the best part of this was I got up quicker than the running back did.
Nice.
Personal victory. Okay. Let's keep this one rolling. As much fun as we've had covering high school football, really crappy weather games are miserable, but still fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So what was the worst weather game you've covered in high school football? And I mean, like, I know for a while you were up in the press box, but you got to be down on the sideline for this.
I don't remember who they played. Lubbock Cooper was playing at Shotwell Stadium here in Abilene. No, this has been after you left.
Yeah.
So you can quit racking your brain. I don't want you to hurt yourself, Mike.
Okay.
But it was supposed to be a Friday night game. And we got hit with one of our famous West Texas blizzards,
yep.
And not the kind in winters, where the game was pushed from Friday to Monday.
Right. Yeah. Jeez.
Which to play on a Monday, they had to get a UIL waiver.
Right.
Because it was I want to say it was either state quarterfinal or state semifinal. Like it was deep in the playoffs.
Right.
And walking on the turf at Shotwell, it was still so cold, you could hear the turf breaking underneath your feet.
That's cool. That's cool. I did one, I think it was a Cooper playoff game where it was like the whole field had snow on it. And that was my first high school football game shooting in the snow. And like, I looked like I was going skiing or snowboarding, like beanie, scarf, gloves, fat jacket on top of another fat jacket, 3 layers of pants.
Dude, so you're talking like Ralphie's brother from A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Dude, that was me that night.
Somehow I could bring my arms to go like that. And
that night at the Lubbock Cooper game, that was me. I had like 3 hoodies on, a winter coat. Oh, and I looked like the pansy of all pansies because Major Applewhite was there too, scouting.
Oh, dude, I still remember the game. This was right after Thanksgiving, sometime early December in 2013. It was at Snyder High School, and it was like 20 degrees outside after a major ice storm. The roads were clear enough to drive, and like we're running over ice, crunch, crunch, crunch under our feet. And whenever the teams were at timeouts, all of us who are shooting the game are running over to the little like jet furnaces they have on the side there and trying to warm our hands. I couldn't feel my hands, and I had like the hand warmers in my gloves and everything. It was miserable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunately, we've had a few games like that the past couple of years here in the big country.
Yeah.
And they suck. Especially when you're shooting photos.
Yeah.
And you can't feel the shutter button. And you're just like, okay, I hope to God I got a photo out of this.
I covered my first snow game. I was in the middle of a tornado that was coming through Brownwood when I was, or Blanket. It was going through Blanket, but I was up in Brownwood. Had to go up there with Betty Wynn, 2 Californians chasing a tornado. That's a bad idea.
Shout out, Betty.
And the heaviest rain I've ever seen was in Abilene.
Yeah.
So, there's just some good weather there.
Yeah.
There's some weather there.
Okay, moving on to this one. Better moment, the 2011 Mavs NBA title or the 2010 Rangers' first trip to the World Series?
As a lifelong Rangers fan, I still remember I was home that night of Game 6 of the ALCS, watching it on TV.
Against the Cardinals?
When the 8th inning ended, I went down to my truck because my entire life I had waited to hear Eric Nadel call a Rangers World Series berth. And I was not going to miss the 9th inning.
That was the game, Mike, you and I and your dad were watching.
So
the Wild Wings.
That was the World Series. This is the ALCS.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I still remember, like, as a journalist, we all imagine, man, if I cover X, Y, or Z, this is how I'm going to handle it. And for a lifelong Rangers broadcaster like Eric Nadel, you know, I can only think about how many times did he think about this call and how he was going to do it. And it still strikes me that, you know, it's A-Rod who sent the Rangers into abyss with that god-awful 10-year, $252 million contract. But I still remember Eric Nadel, and here's the pitch. And then he says nothing. And he lets the crowd tell the story. And even retelling this, I still get goosebumps. It's still, like, I still get misty-eyed. And
oh, yeah.
It's cool, because man, as a lifelong Rangers fan, like, that's what we've all been waiting for and all wanted. And to me, as much as I love the Mavs, that was a bigger deal seeing them in the World Series the first time than the Mavs winning it all.
All right. Honest answer.
I love that. Okay. I know you're a fan of minor league hats, and there's some crazy, ridiculous minor league teams out there. Shout out to the Eugene Emeralds and the Hillsboro Hops in the Pacific Northwest. But what is your favorite minor league hat that you own?
So I've got two. First off, the Missoula Paddleheads out of Montana.
Came prepared.
The Akron Rubber Ducks. And this is one of their alternate hats.
Rubber duck.
That is a traffic cone.
You're so fun.
And I will say this. Whitney gets mad at me all the time. You spend too much money on hats. Well, they're kind of cool, and that's kind of my thing. And one thing I'll do, like the first time I wear a hat to a game, to a high school football game during the season, I will figure out how far their home stadium is to the stadium I'm covering that night, and I will tweet out a photo of the hat. I will tag the team and the distance from their stadium to the stadium I'm at.
Do you have an Albuquerque Isotopes hat?
I do not.
All right. I know what I'm getting you for your wedding gift.
Yeah, I know. I know the two that I'm gonna get you is Christmas and wedding gift too. So
I know one's the Hops because we've already discussed that.
We'll get Whitney a proper gift, but I know what I'm getting you. I wear my Isotopes beanie a lot right now.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been wearing it the last 3 days in a row or something.
Okay, let's move on. In the spirit of weddings, since you are going to be getting married later this year, and we are going to do, Brandon and I are going to do our best not to humiliate you in speeches. Try not to TP your car.
Do we get to do speeches? No.
No, I'm just saying we're going to try not to humiliate him in speeches.
We're going to try to stay.
Brandon's sitting here having a heart attack going.
No, first of all, I've done plenty of wedding speeches, but no, we're not going to be designated one. So, no. Mike, so you're saying like we're going to try to not do it out of turn.
Yeah, but I mean, like there's so many possibilities for things that we as groomsmen can do to royally mess with their world after they get back from a honeymoon or a reception. We have so many options. But that said, are we talking a band or a DJ at the reception?
So glad you asked that.
Really good question.
True story. So when we were going through the process of looking for photographers, we came across somebody that did photography and DJ.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay.
And cut us a great deal.
I can see that working. Okay.
And so I reached out to him. And it just so happened to be that either this year or last year, this year, he had retired from high school coaching. He was an assistant coach at Dublin High School.
Wow.
And he and his wife decided to become wedding photographers and DJs. And so we hadn't paid him a deposit yet, and he had somebody else ready to book him for the day that we're having our wedding. And he called me and said, "Hey, I respect you because of what you've done for our kids at Dublin.
Nice.
I want to give you a chance to say yes or no before I take their deposit."
Okay.
And yeah, like they were ready to give him a deposit, and he called us to say,
first dibs.
"Hey, do you want, because of the respect I have for you,
right,
because of the work you've done as a journalist, do you want to use us?"
Priority access. I like that.
So you got him.
Yeah, so we got him. So we will have a DJ at the wedding.
All right. I'm going to line up my requests. Get that one ready. Okay, so going from the DJ question, can you think of like any good examples of the worst first dance song that you've heard or could imagine being played for the couple's first dance?
Well, first off, I'm glad you didn't ask me what my first pickup line was I used on Whitney.
Oh my goodness.
I
want to ask Whitney that question and see what she says.
Well, I mean,
it happened in your living room.
This opens up the floodgates and so many things we could ask right now, but go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah, stay on target. Stay on target.
The worst first dance song. I like big butts and I cannot lie.
That's a good one. I disagree. It's a good one.
Brandon, what's yours?
I mean, if that's a bad one, then like all of mine are bad. That'd be fun. Well, the first dances are supposed to be slow, right?
Yeah,
They're all supposed to be slow.
They are. And so if you hit me with like a Cisco song or something.
Well, like, no, I actually have a slow one that I think I would have a hard time not laughing the whole time. The song from Top Gun, it's like, take my breath away. Because they always like, wow, wow.
Yes, that's a good one.
I think that song makes me laugh. So
it does.
It wouldn't work for me.
I can only think of the movie Deadpool when I hear that song now.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, let's put him on the spot. What was your first dance song?
Yeah, what was it? I don't remember.
Mine was...
I don't remember at all.
Oh, I know the name. Who's the dude that's with Gwen Stefani right now? Blake Shelton. Oh. So it's Blake Shelton.
Oh, the one now. Yeah.
So God Gave Me You by Blake Shelton. That was the one that was our first dance.
Okay. So I would have known the answer to that had Mike invited me to his wedding.
There it is.
Shots fired.
Ouch.
Shots fired. Don't worry, Brandon. You'll be invited to my wedding.
Thanks, man.
Whenever.
Yeah, you went there. All right. Okay. We're good. Yeah, I earned that one. We round out the lightning round with the traditional question. This is your favorite movie that you are ashamed to admit.
Guilty pleasure.
Yes.
I'm gonna die for this one.
Yes.
Because it's also her favorite movie.
Ooh.
And I've only seen it once because she made me, and I tried to pass it off as I did not like it, but in reality, I did. The Princess Bride.
What?
That's an awesome movie.
What? This is not a good guilty
pleasure. No, don't be ashamed of that one. That's a great movie.
Give us another one. Come on. That's a good movie. Like for me, Devil Wears Prada is the one I've admitted to a couple of times when people have struggled to come up with one.
I'll give you another one that I would probably get raked over the coals if it was just like drinking night with the buddies. Failure to Launch and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
All right. These are new ones because he keeps saying the Transformer movie.
Yeah, but that was like after the first one, it was just terrible.
So
but like
Failure to Launch was funny.
I think,
and so does How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Those are both funny.
Matthew McConaughey.
But they're chick flicks though.
I think I'm gonna go with an Adam Sandler one.
Okay.
50 First Dates.
Nah, see, I like that one too.
See, me too.
Yeah. That's one that definitely got bashed. So now, like, this qualifies a little more only because it's one of those movies that unfortunately got bashed a lot. I think it did. There's so many of his movies that have been bashed I didn't feel like deserved it. But nah, 50 First Dates is good. Drew Barrymore, Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider's hilarious.
Yeah, but I mean, it got bashed, and so...
Yeah, that qualifies. It qualifies.
Yeah. But that said, Brandon, you have now finished. You've crossed the finish line. You have completed your rite of passage on Sports Amigos, and you may now be welcomed with open arms and glasses still containing actual beverage into the fraternity/sorority halls of the Sports Amigos. And to that, sir, we commend you and appreciate you for joining us. And we offer up the cheers, the required cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. Quick cheers, and then the second cheers to we'll round it off right here. I mean, Brandon, you know we love you. You've been a bud, you know, and I meant to bring this up earlier, but I think one of the best things you've done over the years is you've been an ambassador and a someone that's like just welcomed just about every Abilene sports media person. There's so many people from around the country that have come to Abilene over the years, us two included, and you've made us feel welcome, and you've made you just made so many reporters' lives easier by not only doing that, but then also helping a brother, helping a sister out with a text here and there with a score, you know, over the years. But that's a very small part of, you know, the kindness in your heart that you've offered over the years to everyone in Abilene. So on behalf of everyone that's ever worked in Abilene, I thank you for that. Thank you for your friendship. And you were already a certified sports amigo before coming on the show. Now you're an extra certified sports amigo. And I'm going to have to get your shirt size and your address. You can get a official Sports Amigos shirt.
So before we actually cheers to that, I wanted to add a little bit to that as well, because I think you hit on it. That is, especially in a 2020 and beginning of 2021, when we've really needed this a lot more, you have been a very consistent beacon of kindness and joy to a lot of people, and that's made you very unique, very special, and, you know, a very consistent and endearing friend. So really, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and thank you for introducing me to my future wife.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And now I do have a question for both of you. You know I'm divorced, right?
Yep.
Okay. Don't ever use that as a pickup line.
And cheers.
Oh, hopefully we don't get divorced. Otherwise, might have to.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the show.